doesn't realize his role as a father is to make sure his child stays on par and respectful of his brothers and sisters. He don't know no better, fam. These niggas don't know shit. You don't even want your child to feel like they're better or less than their brothers and sisters. So it's certain things you got to do as a father that you may not want to do because you don't want that. You don't want to create an inferiority or a superiority complex. You don't want to create neither. You want to teach your children that those are their brothers and sisters. Period. End of story. I'm your dad, them your brothers and sisters, nothing in between, that's that.
Anti-Afro Svengalis, I'm posting this video by popular demand.
Now, who you heard was Taz, and he was giving commentary on that viral video about the dad that brought a McDonald's meal for his son and the 3 other half siblings were brought nothing. I'm only pointing out, for the purposes of this video, what Taz had to say about relationships within the family and the father's role or the parent's role. And this is relevant. It's going to become relevant later on in the video, so just hang on, because I'm going to come back to this statement. 2 things I'm doing here. I'm going to talk about the federal cases, make some points of clarity, and I'm following up on a community post. You see the initial part of the community post regarding the profound ignorance that is being spewed in these YouTube streets by an individual by the name of Sans Logic. Do you have any question about what Sans represents? That means without. Without logic. Sans Logic.
It's important that I come on here and give facts in relation to the federal case filings. Now, if you want to get right to that commentary, here's a timestamp. You can go to that mark, but I need to address some issues related to the federal case filings. If anyone is interested in getting documents, drop me an email and I'll send it to you, because I know people are seeing documents on screens on other people's channels, but you don't see the whole document. If you don't have the whole document, you don't know what's going on. So that's the whole issue that I'm going to address right now. Now, YouTube, as we know, gives us the freedom to run our live streams however we want to run our live streams. If you are interested in the truth, if you want facts, if you want verifiable information running through your live stream, you can boot Sans Logic. You can boot his butt from your live stream, because all he's doing is giving you a bunch of bald-faced lies. So if you're interested in the truth, he has no purpose in your live stream. If you're interested in drama, if you're interested in lies, if you're interested in an insecure, dark-skinned black man attack light-skinned black women who he doesn't know anything about, or question black women who he's never seen as to how black they are, you can keep Sans Logic around. If you're interested in your live stream being littered with lies, and someone purporting as if they have information they don't, you can keep Sans Logic around. Now, let me make this clear. I can come on and I can say this because Sans Logic tried his hardest to order me around and try to tell me where to go and what to do. That was very odd. But let me tell you this, Sans Logic, from day one that you started going up on those platforms, giving your speeches about almighty AFW, I had folks in my ear. Not as bad as they were with Let Me See Your Handcuffs, because she straight up lied and said she was AFW. But from the second you came on there and you started making all these statements that you're so rocking with AFW and me, I had folks telling me you were a phony. And you knew that because you questioned me about that. You wanted to know what people were saying about you, people that I was rocking with. And I told you, I tell them everything that's going on. And you didn't like that. I do tell them what's going on because I know these people actually care about me. They never thought you cared. I said to them, let's rock out and see how this brother manages himself. And what did we see? You increasingly became hostile and abusive towards black women with light skin. Meanwhile, you're not saying anything about the brothers with light skin. You don't say anything about who are the brothers. G. Gates, I haven't heard you refer to his skin tone. I haven't heard you refer to grown man's skin tone, but you sure were attacking all the black women around here who are light skinned, and you were questioning their blackness. Now, let's make this clear. Sans logic. How one feels about their skin tone and their race, it starts in the family. So obviously we were raised in very different households.
I want to give an example of how profoundly ignorant sans logic is. I'll give you an actual incident that occurred, and I'll use it to highlight my point. A couple weeks back, I was at Walmart, and somebody parked next to my car, and the way they parked, I don't know what was going on. That if you looked inside the car, it was a disaster. Who knows what was going on? I couldn't pull forward because there was a car there, but the way they were parked, I was blocked in. So what do? I go to the manager and ask, hey, what can you do about this? The manager, everything about him looked just fine. Very clearly, though, his right arm was significantly shorter than his left arm. It actually stopped like it went like as far down as your elbow. That's the length of the arm that was shortened. Okay, so he was able to provide me with assistance. They got security to go and tow the car away. It took like 30 minutes, but hey, I got to leave. But let me tell you something. This person had an obvious birth defect. You can tell. If you can tell me, please, what sense does it make to harangue on this person about his birth defect and try to make him feel as if he's less because both arms are not the same length? So if you start targeting people with birth defects that look very obvious to everyone else, you are attacking somebody for something they have no control over. That is the goal of sans logic. Wants to harangue on an issue that people don't have any control over. That makes just as much sense as quizzing and discussing and reminding this manager that his arm significantly shorter than the other arm. This whole thing about targeting people for traits and characteristics they have no control over is a crude and abusive attempt to wield control over others. It's a process, a failed process in this instance, of trying to brainwash someone into thinking that they are inferior. So let's go back to the clip that you heard at the beginning. If you are raised not to feel that you are superior or inferior to your siblings based on whatever traits one has and one doesn't, then you don't come out with an attitude like this. Now, it is true that your parents can raise you to be decent and respectable, and you can decide to grow up and be a total and complete jerk who uses people's characteristics that they have no control over and tries to beat them over the head with it. Now, there are people out there who I'm sure feel insecure about who they are for whatever reason. Those are the people who are susceptible to being brought under this type of control. But as we can see, there aren't many people over there on Sans Logic page, and there were even fewer people there before he started perping as if he was rocking with AFW. If what he had to say was so profound and so insightful, the dude who's behind he continues to kiss, this Neely Fooler, would be seeking him out for partnership. That's not happening. What you hear coming from Sans Logic is profound, explicit ignorance. Pure and simple.
We weren't raised to attack people and tease people and beat people up and harangue on them for their skin tone. Doesn't matter. You're the one that has that problem, so you keep bringing it up. But let me give you a suggestion. You have some folks in these YouTube streets who think just like you. I understand why you wouldn't pay Dumpsy Dip while you were saying, oh, Marty AFW, because he does the same thing that you do. I understand why you're obsessed with binary castaway, because he does the same thing that you do. I understand why you're always asking about, let me see your handcuffs, because she does the same thing that you do. They are all resentful, self-hating, race and skin tone attacking creeps. So what is the reason that you insisted on trying to hang out with AFW and me and people who support us? Why? Because you wanted to make sure you can target somebody and try to make them feel bad about themselves as you feel bad about yourself. But you failed. I don't hang around people who are ashamed of their skin tone or their race, no matter what the race is. You want Black people to feel ashamed of themselves because they're not dark skinned like you. Fact of the matter is, you're the one that feels ashamed. Those who keep bringing it up and haranguing on skin tone and claiming you can decide whose race is what. What are you, a geneticist? You got some lab set up in your house that you can run DNA tests on people? You're ignorant. You don't know anything about anybody's race. You don't know a damn thing. Are you in our medical record? You can tell us what tests have been run, what DNA tests we've had on ourselves, and we know what our genetic background is. You don't know any of that. And I'm going to tell you this. Listen, I'm going to give you proof that Sans logic is particularly hateful towards Black women who are light skinned and or Black women who won't reveal themselves to him, like he was increasingly angry with me. He wanted to meet with me. He wanted to see my photo. He was obsessed because he wants to find a way to attack a Black woman. And when I refused, he tried to say I'm not Black. I don't give a damn what you think about me. You can't overtake my upbringing. I wasn't raised like you were. You were raised to feel less about yourself because you have dark skin. And that's a crying shame. I can't do anything about that, but I'm not going to adopt your self-hating disposition. That's you. This skin tone and race attacking bullshit within the Black race, it starts in the family. It's a societal issue. But if you have a strong upbringing, you're not going to be impacted like that. If idiots come to you and try to get on you about your skin tone, you're not going to be completely freaked out. You recognize the ignorance for what it is. You got a problem with light-skinned Black women. That is your problem. Let me give you some more proof of what I'm saying. Sans logic kisses the ass of this dude here you see on the screen, Fuller, who talks about race and skin tone and all this stuff. He's entitled to his opinion. But what is the reason Sans logic is up here kissing this dude's ass? Just like he kisses G. Gates' ass, just like he kisses grown man's ass, until that went to hell in a handbasket. Because you're phony. And I thank all of you who continue to let me know what a phony Sans logic is. You're the one. You're making a fool out of yourself. Running around here, you should have seen how many people sent me emails when he went over to Dumpsy Depp's live stream and paid him. He went over to T. Pre's live stream and paid her. He's doing any and everything he can, paying people to pay attention to him. He's paying grown men. Then he gets pissed because he can't get what he wants from them. You're the one that's got the problem. You're up here trying to use this race, this nonsensical, idiotic, skin and race attacking bullshit. If what you had to say was so relevant, why aren't people tuning in? If we're so stupid and we're so sub-intelligent, why don't you go to another space where this issue is being discussed? They're not going to accept you there either. What you're saying is bullshit nonsense. Nobody cares. That is why, as far as I can see, and I'm not a sub freak, you got less than 100 subs. You're not going to get anybody over there unless you're doing what? Talking about who? Someone that's not you. This so-called theory or theories that you have going on, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to try to abuse other people because they aren't your skin tone. These issues are your issues. Okay, this light-skinned Black women have issues with who they are, but this dude up here doesn't, this Fuller dude, whose ass you're kissing. So everybody, you're welcome to keep the bullshit going if you want to. That is your decision. That is your channel that you're having garbage dropped in your chat by Sans Logic, who's now kissing up to the smoke god reject, with the colostomy bag bride and his supply of Viagra. Have fun with that, sans logic. Maybe you two can exchange Viagra and swap stories on the colostomy bag bride that your new friend has. It was a big sigh of relief when you finally revealed yourself. You couldn't stand it anymore. You were perping, you were lying, you're pretending that you support AFW, they support me, and you're running around trying to find out who would give you the most attention, and you were willing to pay for it. That is you. I wish I would go around paying an enemy to talk to me. You're up here saying one thing and you're going and paying other people. I mean, the one person in these YouTube streets, the one female who's so eager to put her mouth on penises, she rejected you. You're running around here trying to act like everybody is beneath you. You're simply making a fool of yourself. You're welcome to continue doing that. But just so you know, you have failed. You're not making me feel less about myself, or most black people aren't going to fall for that shit. But you continue. Apparently you must have succeeded somewhere in making a black person feel less important because her skin isn't dark like yours. But the ultimate hypocrisy is you didn't even marry a black woman. And you know what? You're free to marry who you want. It just shows what a hypocrite you are. So if you have a problem with light-skinned black women, then you got to have a problem with your wife who isn't even black. So think about that, people. The next time you want to let sans logic drop trash in your live stream. Now, let's get on to the cases. There are a couple of cases that people have been talking about in the chickens coming home to roost scenario that is going around these YouTube streets. The case that was filed by August Archibald, and again, this is not the person's real name. That case was dismissed because the plaintiff, August Archibald, requested it. I'm not going to get into the reasons for that. I've remained in contact with that individual. But that case, let me just say this real quick, is something that people who don't know anything about the legal system failed to see. The person complied with every single directive of the court and submitted his claims that conformed to the federal regulations. He very specifically laid out by statute what the issues were. So how can people critique the lawsuit when they don't even know what goes into a lawsuit? You can't just file a lawsuit and level all these accusations without having supporting documentation and without citing the law that you feel you should prevail on. So again, especially those people who are anti-ADOS, who think that we're beneath them, they think they can come here and tell us about our legal system. Let us try to do a video on their legal system from their country. They'll have a heart attack. We know our legal system. And don't take for granted because someone has a law license that they know what they're actually doing. We have proven that point time and time again. So as far as the current case out of Louisiana, there are multiple people on that lawsuit. I believe 15 or 20. And I don't know who exactly has been served other than the people that I'm involved with, me and Rev G and Anti-Fraud Warriors. We have complied with every single thing the court has requested. So far, decisions made have been in our favor. And I'm going to talk about what's happened already. I'm not going to go into the detail about the case because a lawyer requested I not do that because we have some things pending. But I'm going to talk about what already has occurred. The person who filed the lawsuit, who does have an Umar Johnson connection, and I'm going to be dealing with that later on, filed this lawsuit and initially sought an injunction, which is a restraining order, claiming all of these atrocities had been perpetrated upon this individual. The judge denied that injunction. The person was talking about, I'm going to talk about myself, first off, threats of violence, hiring people to beat people up and do all these things. The judge very clearly stated in the response, I made no threats of violence. There was a person actually who did make a threat of violence, and the judge stated he very specifically laid out by statute what the issues were. So how can people critique the lawsuit when they don't even know what goes into a lawsuit? You can't just file a lawsuit and level all these accusations without having supporting documentation
and without citing the law that you feel you should prevail on. So again, especially those people who are anti-ADOS, who think that we're beneath them, they think they can come here and tell us about our legal system. Let us try to do a video on their legal system from their country. They'll have a heart attack. We know our legal system. And don't take for granted because someone has a law license that they know what they're actually doing. We have proven that point time and time again. So as far as the current case out of Louisiana, there are multiple people on that lawsuit. I believe 15 or 20. And I don't know who exactly has been served other than the people that I'm involved with, me and Rev G and Anti-Fraud Warriors. We have complied with every single thing the court has requested. So far, decisions made have been in our favor. And I'm going to talk about what's happened already. I'm not going to go into the detail about the case because a lawyer requested I not do that because we have some things pending. But I'm going to talk about what already has occurred. The person who filed the lawsuit, who does have an Umar Johnson connection, and I'm going to be dealing with that later on, filed this lawsuit and initially sought an injunction, which is a restraining order, claiming all of these atrocities had been perpetrated upon this individual. The judge denied that injunction. The person was talking about, I'm going to talk about myself, first off, threats of violence, hiring people to beat people up and do all these things. The judge very clearly stated in the response, I made no threats of violence. There was a person actually who did make a threat of violence, and the judge stated the person who filed the lawsuit lives something like 2,500 miles away, and there was no indication that the person had any intention of doing anything other than stating, I'm going to kick your ass or beat your ass. So the judge denied that restraining order. So we are at this point. On the third filing, this individual has been requested to provide information that will allow us to provide a proper response, and the judge authorized this motion on our behalf. So this is where we are now. We're waiting for the full and complete submission on our side to go through, which reemphasizes we need certain information in order to respond. We're following all the regulations. We're conforming to the filing requirements, protocol. We're doing everything we're supposed to do. We don't have anything to hide. We're not afraid of the legal system. We have not perpetrated a single solitary criminal offense or any civil infractions. So we don't have a concern. And let me clarify, there was a lie that was dropped into the chats recently by the desperate person who just wants to be seen and heard. This person lied to all of you. See, what I'm telling you, this person is a liar. Sans Logic is a liar. Sans Logic stated that I told him that the case was dismissed. That is a lie. I never told this person anything of the kind. As a matter of fact, which is more proof of this person's nefarious intent, I emailed this person the documents. It was very clearly stated that one person filed for a dismissal and the judge granted the dismissal. This was another person involved in the case that doesn't have anything to do with anybody in these YouTube streets. Not on YouTube, not doing videos. That is what happened. And also there was a delay because apparently the lawyer for the person who filed the lawsuit is ill. He submitted notice of our intended filing of the full-fledged motion that addresses the deficiency. That has been delayed because the attorney for the person who filed the lawsuit has health issues. So it's not anything that has to do with us. We're following what we're supposed to follow. What others should be worried about is thinking about why they haven't responded. Everybody is individual. This is not a lawsuit where defendants are joined together except for me, Gerald, and Anti-Fraud Warriors. We don't concern ourselves with the details or the facts of other people in the lawsuit. Again, if you want facts, send an email. Do not listen to people who are clearly desperate. Thank God for options. Unfortunately, there are people out there who don't act as though they have options. You have the option not to indulge people who are only focused on trying to make you feel that you're worthless. You have an option not to indulge those who will do anything to get you involved with some imaginary beef, non-existent beef. You have options. You never have to settle for any situation where you have somebody trying to attack you for who you are and they think it's okay to threaten children, throw kids out windows. You have options. Exercise the options that are in your best interest. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.